Yes, you! You are Putty Spencer. Oh! Or...
Hello everyone, my name is IJD, and welcome to episode 2 of the Minecraft modding tutorials. So today we are going to start our mod. Last episode we got our workspace all set up, but here we're actually gonna, go in the code and we're gonna do a bit of coding. And Friday I will be pushing out the tutorial for items and blocks. I don't know if it's going to be split between 2 episodes or I'm going to do it all in one. We'll have to see. But anyways, if you didn't understand what we did in last episode, we basically installed the programs to allow us to run Java, and we also got all the code files that we needed. And you can actually see all these code files if you go to external libraries in your IntelliJ IDEA editor. So we're in here, and if we open up external libraries, you can see we have the forge jar file. And what this contains all of the Minecraft code that we are going to be using. And then we've also got 1.8 is Java. So we got all these things, and then all this Gradle stuff. This is all extra libraries that come with Minecraft. So you might have to go into some of these sometimes. Like there's some ones by Google and stuff they're all good. But let's start coding. So as you can see, we have these folders here. What you can call folders is packages. Folders and packages are the same thing. So if I say package, it means a folder. So in source, which is src, this is where we're going to be coding. Ignore all these other folders. We won't need them for now. Build we might need sometime, but ignore it all. So in main, this is the split between the two sections of modding. Resources and Java. So Java is where all of our code files is going to be, and resources is where all our textures and block models and stuff like that is going to be. Now you may notice that there's already something in the Java folder called com.example.examplemod. And here's what you can do and what you should do with it. Alright, so right click it, refactor. Not refactor, used to be part of refactor. Just go down and hit delete. Delete. And you might need to do this several times, like I did 2 times. Okay, now that that is over, we need to look at this. So resources, keep pack.mcmeta. You could change the description. This will not. Nobody will ever see this, so you don't need to worry about changing the description. This is only to tell the code, the Minecraft, where our textures are and stuff, and to say what version we're doing on it. This we will want to change in the future because, as you can see, it has a lot of example info. Don't change this version part because the reason why it has like this $sign and these curly brackets is it's automatically getting that version. But in Java, so right click the Java folder, and we are going to want to make our kind of like an identifier first before we create our main code file. So there's a lot of conventions on how to do it. If I pull up orange blocks, here, let me switch to the display capture here. So here we're on my orange blocks mod, and as you can see, we have, this is the identifier. So I have my old name. I don't know why I chose one of my old usernames on there. Dot the mod name dot the mod ID. So the mod ID is something that you're gonna have to come up with besides your actual mod name, and it's going to be a lot shorter. You wanted to keep it short because this is like, when you do /give, you have to type the mod ID : whatever block you want. So it's and you're going to be using this more often than the name. So the normal convention is you say your website extension or whatever. Of course, I don't have a website, so normally I would just do com or something. Dot your name dot the mod name. Now, I'm not a big I mean, sure, they can do that, but I like doing my name dot the mod name dot the mod ID. So it's up to you, but just right click Java folder and go to new and hit package. So now it's going to ask us to create a name. Now be careful with this. So first put your name, and now put a dot, because the dot it's kind of like the slash that you can see in these directories. So if you put a dot, it's going to create 3 folders. So we'll actually go into here and we'll look. So we're going to do comrade ij dot coding tutorial .ct, which is my mod ID that I just came up with. Now, as you can see, if we go to Java, we now have comrade ij. We have 3 folders that were just added. So with that out of the way, we need to make our first code file. So a class is a code file in Java. So right-click New and hit Java Class. Now, we'll look into these other things down here later, but we want the default class for now and call it main. Now, of course, you can call this whatever you want, but we're going to be using this a lot, so I recommend main. And to allow other people to read your code easier, you normally want to follow a certain way of naming your classes. And I believe it's called Pascal, how you name it. So what you do is, let's say I wanted to make a main Minecraft. So I would put each letter as capital. See? But that's how you name your classes. I mean, it doesn't matter. It will still work if you don't, but it'll be a lot easier. Alright, now double click the stock class. And as you can see, we are now in a file. And if you look in here, there's now a file. So this little thing at the top here, keep this here. Just ignore this. This is going to be automatically generated at every time you create one of these code files. And this just tells the Java what package this code file is in. So it's in this one. And you end each code statement with a semicolon. So that's something to get in a habit of. Now you see, we have public class main. What that public means is that we can access this main class from anywhere we want in our code. So now we want to type within these parentheses. This is where all the code would go. But I'm about to break that rule. So if we look at my main class, what we're going to want to do is create an annotation. No, not like the one that it's in ELA. No, this is not a scary one. This is pretty easy. But I like doing some organization first. So, let's do this. Go to this, and we're going to create a new package again, and call this util. Now, like I said, with all the classes being capitalized for each word, this, with packages, it's all lowercase. So now we have another package called util. Now we're going to create a class, and we're going to call this quick ref, short for quick reference. So this is going to contain some things that we can quickly name off. So as you can see, it looks just like main, and we have this package statement up here, and see it says now we're in the util, so it says we're in util. Now we are going to make our first variable here. So a variable, this should be kind of easy to understand if you know a bit of algebra, but a variable, basically, you can call it whatever you want, and it has a value to it. So you can name something called this, and you can make it where everywhere you enter this in your code, it'll be replaced by a 1 when you're actually running the code. So it's just a good way of keeping track of things and storing data. So we're going to want to start this up by saying public, because we want this to be accessed anywhere in our code. Now we're going to say static. Now I don't want to cause any brain explosions, so the static part will not be explained until later down in the series. And if you're watching the premiere, hi. If you are having, if you feel like I'm going too fast or you can't understand, please say in the live chat or the comments, and I will answer you, and I'll try to explain. But we're not done here. We need final. So what final means is that this data that we're storing here, it cannot be changed. It'll never be changed ever. This is set in stone. And now we can call it whatever we want. So this is going to be the mod ID, so I'm just going to call it ID. Like that. Now, of course, it's mad. It's giving us this this red, which means we're doing something wrong, but we're not finished here yet. We want to hit an equals. Now, this is going to tell the Java what ID is. Now, we also missed something here. So before we put the name, we also want to put the type of the variable that we're doing. Because see, in Java, there's a bunch of different types. In here, I'll cover them right here. So for example, an integer is a number. And the one we want to use is a string. Because what string is, it's text. So we're going to choose string. There you go. And now, in front of this equal sign, we're going to put a double quote. So with strings, we want to use double quotes all the time. Remember that. And you'll notice that because we're in a coding program, when you put a double quote, it will automatically put another one to finish it. So now we want to put in the ID of our mod. And minus CT. There we go. Now, I also want to name some other ones, and we don't have to state this thing over again because we already stated that there's going to be a public static final string. So what you can actually do is put a comma, and now I'm going to say name equals coding tutorial. And then comma version equals 1.0.0. And so these are all public static final strings. That's that, and we can use the comma, and it already knows that from that first one. So we've just made 3 variables. Congratulations. Now to finish off, this is a line of code. So to finish it off, I want to put a semicolon. And now we can close out quick ref for now. And now it's time for our annotation. So I'm going to reject what I just said about only typing in this because we need to type exactly above this for a second. So annotations, these things you start with an @ sign, they go directly above whatever you're defining here. So we're defining a class, which, like I said earlier, is a code file called main. So we're going to go on the line directly above it. We're going to put an @ sign. And see, it's now going to give us a pop-up window with a bunch of options. And now we want to type mod. This is going to be used to create our mod. So now, look at this mod one. It's the first one here from net.minecraftforge. and now hit tab. And now things happened. Oh gosh. So what you'll see here is that there is this new line of code that it made up here called import, and it says it's importing this code file called mod. Now actually, this is an actual code file, and if you hold down Control and click mod, you will actually see this code file, which is in this forge jar. And of course, this is pretty confusing normally, but this is going to be used to create our mod. And the purpose of import is don't worry about importing too many things. Import basically is here to make your life easier, because without import, what you'd have to do is, instead of typing mod and it knowing it, you'd have to type out the full thing. Like this, to just reference that one thing. But what importing does is it imports this mod thing, so then we don't need to type out the whole thing. Alright, anyway, so now we need to define our mod. So we're going to need to put in 4 parameters. So what that is it's expecting me to give this thing 4 things within these parentheses. So we're going to get 3 of these things from our quick ref. So type down quick ref, and now you'll see you want to make sure it's your one, which is it says next to it, it's in Comrade IJ, so that's mine. Now hit enter, and you'll see it imported it. Now hit dot and hit tab on ID. Now we have our mod's ID. Now we're going to do this again for the rest. What we actually want to do is we want to say mod ID equals quick ref dot ID. There we go. Now we want to say name equals quick ref dot name. Version equals quick ref dot version. And finally, accepted Minecraft versions. That's a long one. But hit tab and it'll automatically put it for you. Now this one's a little more complex. We want to put a square bracket in quotes. So let's move that to the side, and let's close the Gradle panel. Alright, so like that. And now we want to put in the version that we want to be accepted in Minecraft. Now, note, you can't just put 1.16 and it'll work in that version. No, because the code is not the same. So we're obviously building this on Forge for 1.12.2. So we are going to say this is for 1.12.2. Now you could do 1.12, and that might allow people who are playing with 1.12 or 1.12.1, but I don't know anyone who in their right mind who would do that. So just use 1.12.2. So now that is your mod defined, and now I'm going to go back to my statement about us typing in within these brackets here. So if you're all the way on the left here, you can just hit tab and you'll get back to the right area. But we're going to need to define some things here. So first, this is going to come in handy a lot later, and I will install it. And I will explain it later. It's kind of hard to understand. But we want to create a variable based on our mod. It's basically you know how we did the string for the type of for words. Well, this one is going to be, it's not a string. It's like one of those, but for a mod, for your mod exact, for coding tutorial mod. So we're gonna do @mod dot instance. And now it doesn't like it, that's because we need to define our variable underneath it. So do public static. Remember, I'll define that static part later. And we want to create our based off our main file, which is our mod itself. Main is our mod instance. So now we have a variable called instance, which is it's our mod. And we don't need to assign it to anything. This will not be used for a long while, not until we get to entity. So this is just going to sit here for the time being. Next up, what we're going to need to do is something called proxies. So basically, in Minecraft, there are two sides of things that are happening. So there is the server side and the client side. So the server side, that's like obviously if you're playing a multiplayer server, and also if you're like even if you're on single player, there is a server and a client running on the same time. But the client, we have to use the client for things like textures. So we want a special designation between these two sides because we don't want textures being loaded on like a Minecraft server, because what use is that? Because no one's going to see it. Only the client needs it to be loaded. Sorry. So let's make those proxies. So we're going to want to create a new package in there, and we're going to call it proxy. And we're going to create two classes here. One called client proxy and one called common. Now, common and server are the same word. Get that in your head. Okay, so first we're going to want to create common proxy, like that. There. And then let's create another one called client proxy. Done. Now, this is where it could get a little hard to understand. So there's nothing. We're not going to put anything in common proxy yet. We will have stuff in here later. But what we want to do, in order to, and I'll have to explain this a lot more in depth when you guys have a little bit more experience with all this coding stuff. But we're gonna want to type extends common proxy. Oops, and I made a big mistake. Not command base. Common. Come on, proxy. Come on, proxy. So yeah, just ignore this import statement. I'll get rid of that. So basically, this proxy, we're gonna have things that run inside of it, and by default, it's not gonna do anything, but it will run if it detects that it's on the client instead. But now we need to set up to make sure it knows how to run. So this is pretty simple. We need to go back to quick ref, and we're gonna need to add two more things to this string list. Now, while you can add it up here, I'm just gonna make a new line so it's nice and organized. So there we go. And now we're gonna want to create two things here. One is called client. So here is client, and now this is what we're gonna want to call it. So first, go into your client proxy, go to the package, copy this, go back to quick ref, put that in there, and then do a dot client proxy. So you want that to basically be the way to navigate to that file from if you started off in Java folder. Alright, and now we want to create another one called server. And like you may have guessed, now we do .common proxy. And then you can end it off with a semicolon. There you go. So now we can go down here, and we're going to do another @. We're going to call this sided proxy. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to put a parenthesis. Now, we want to tell us where our proxies are. So we're going to do, in the parentheses, client side equals, now, quick ref dot client. And server side equals quickref dot server. Now, don't put that, that's a habit of mine. It doesn't like it, and that's obvious. So what we need to do is we need to create a variable. Now, do public static, no final this time, make sure you don't do final, common proxy. So now this is our proxy. So even though I said it's the server side, so basically, let's say we were registering the textures of items in their inventory. So their inventory, their hotbar texture, like that. So that's client only, and we will be doing that when we get to items. Now, what's going to happen is that we are going to call this proxy variable, and by default it's going to do nothing because it's calling the common proxy. But because we've defined this thing called cited proxy up here, let's say that thing was happening where it's trying to figure out the hotbar texture, but instead of it was happening on the server, it was detected that it's happening on your your Minecraft launcher based Minecraft. You're like joining a modded server or something like that. Then it's no longer going to be common proxy, but it will run the stuff in client proxy. Oh, that was a lot for today. And on Friday, we will be starting items and blocks. And that's where it gets exciting. You start getting your hard work starts to pay off. Now, y'all have a good day. Bye.